Okay. So, starting with today's lecture, today I was hoping that we can discuss some ways in which we can organize a text. Now, generically, when we talk about a text is basically a narrative, preferably that is generically when we talk about a text, that is when we are talking about a written narrative. ठीक हो गया? So definitely there are different ways in which we organize the of our uh, content of our particular text. Okay. या क्लास के दौरान मैसेज नहीं करना ठीक है okay. So definitely there are different ways in which we organize our text, or as you can term it, that in which we organize our content. Now, let me ask you a question, and then maybe you can have some idea that how organization of content actually makes the difference. Let's suppose if we are supposed to provide same information, like we have points A, B, C, and D, and we are supposed to provide same information through a letter, through an essay, through a news article, and maybe through a Facebook post. Now, what do you think that arrangement of information in these four templates, or the organization of the information or the content in these four templates, what do you think? It will be same in the same order or in the same way, or it will differ according to the template that we are using? Raise your hands. Yes, Usman.
मैम ये टेम्पलेट के हिसाब से डिफरेंट होंगे, सारे एक जैसे नहीं होंगे।
ठीक है, तो good, Usman. Anyone else? Yes, Abdul Rafiq, roll number 119. Roll number 59, Abdullah. If people who do not answer when I ask them a question, I'm going to mark them absent. This means they are not present in the class. Arfa.
मैम इंफॉर्मेशन तो सेम डिलीवर करनी है, तो फिर इससे फर्क थोड़ी पड़ता है कि टैबलेट्स डिफरेंट है।
हाँ, लेकिन मेरा जो क्वेश्चन है आपसे वो थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट है अरफा. I am asking that will the sequence of information it will be
No ma'am, it will remain same. Yeah.
Okay, ठीक हो गया जी. अमीर हमजा. रोल अच्छा और भी अमीर हमजा.
Yes ma'am, it will remain same.
Okay, it will remain same. ठीक हो गया. Yes, Zahir.
I am present, ma'am. Ma'am, ये same रहेंगे.
Zahir, मैंने आपको absent
Yes,
कहा भी
ma'am.
था, लेकिन okay. Yes, अब्दुल्ला. जी अब्दुल्ला.
मैंने कुछ बोला नहीं मैम अभी तक.
मैम ये सेम रहेंगे. वो पहले मेरे हेडसेट का थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम था तो मैंने वो सेट किया.
ठीक है ज़हीर. Yes, अब्दुल्ला, you go ahead.
मैम मैंने तो कुछ बोला ही नहीं, वो किसी और ने बोला था. मैम
Zahir and Abdullah, you two are making me confused. Zahir, आपसे मैंने क्वेश्चन पूछा भी नहीं. Keep your mic mute. ठीक है? Yes, Abdullah 59.
मैम मैं बता रहा था मेरी हैंड फ्री का थोड़ा मसला था तो मैंने वो सेट की है, तो मैं बता रहा हूँ सेम रहेंगे यहाँ पे टाइम.
सेम रहेंगे. ठीक है. Okay. Well, though we have different views, but what happens is that when template changes, ठीक है, or when the nature of the document that it is that we are writing, it changes, the way in which we are presenting our information, it will change as well. ठीक है? It is not going to stay same. Let's suppose if you are presenting some information through a letter, and let's suppose then if you are presenting some information through a Facebook post, definitely this particular sequence, it can't remain same for all these different types of presentation, or for all these different templates. It has to change. ठीक हो गया? Now, definitely, how it has to change, that is something that depends upon the subjective discretion of the writer, first of all, because a writer is the main person who determines how they are supposed to present their information. But then definitely there are different situations, and in those different situations or in those different contexts, we present our information through different ways. Okay, and those ways we are going to discuss today. First of all, we have chronology. Now, when we talk about chronology or when we talk about chronological order, usually whenever we arrange events or whenever we arrange happenings or occurrences with reference to time, where time is the main factor that determines the sequence, that is the chronological order. For example, let's suppose, or you might, there is no supposition in this, though you must have experienced this, that when you filled your forms for admissions to different engineering college and engineering universities, you might have seen that you're supposed to provide your educational credentials, and those particular educational credentials, when you provide, you are supposed to provide them in chronological order. Either you are asked to, either there is this small statement that simply says that describe your, just a second. Okay, sorry for this pause. So let's suppose, yes, you're supposed, when you're supposed to provide your educational credentials, uh, usually what you do is that you start that initially you mention your most recent degree, which in at this particular stage would have been your intermediate, and then you start moving backward, that is matriculation, or maybe before that. Or sometimes what we do is that we start from our very basic or primary degree, that here in our context is supposed to be the is supposed to be metric metric, and then we start slowly describe degrees higher than metric. Okay, this is basically the chronological order when we start from particular point, and then we start moving forward. But if we start from the very recent moment right now, or from the if we start from the recent degree and we start moving back all the way backward, that is termed as reverse chronological order. If this example is still not clear, then a very common example of the reverse chronological order are these social media posts of your, let's suppose if you people use Facebook or if you use Twitter, you might have noticed this particular something, that at the top appears the most recent posts that someone or that you have made, and when you start scrolling downwards, you see all the posts that that particular person had made in the past. Okay, that is reverse chronological order. And similarly, if you talk about these are history books generically, they are there in chronological order usually because they start from a particular time period and they move all the way up till the recent history. Or sometimes they are there in reverse chronological order as well, but and similarly, when you people will be writing your CVs or resumes as we term them, again in a CV or a resume, you provide your educational credentials or your experience or your experiences in reverse chronological order. You start from the most recent degree or the most latest degree or the most recent job experience that you have, and then all the way you move backward towards your first job or any first professional experience that you seeked. ठीक हो गया? So this is basically chronological order. Well, the next particular order that usually we use to organize our text is this familiarity and importance. Now, well, familiarity and importance, definitely, this is something that is very subjective, you see, because when it comes to chronological order, definitely we being the writers, we can't change the sequence of chronology. Okay? Somewhat the sequence can be shuffled, but somewhat. ठीक है, maybe we can shuffle occurrences of 1 or 2 days or occurrences of 1 or 2 hours, but definitely major shuffling can't be done when it comes to chronology or chronological order. But then comes the familiarity and importance. Mic kindly अपना mute रखें. Then comes the, let me mute. Okay. Then comes the familiarity and importance. Okay, so definitely when it comes to familiarity and importance, what authors do is that they usually begin with a familiar idea or some idea that is really important, and then this from familiar this they move towards the unfamiliar slowly. This is something you might have noticed in your and this is the technique that is used in most of our textbooks, where what authors do is that in the beginning of a chapter or in the beginning of a topic, usually they mention about some idea or some topic or some statement that was there in the class, in the basically at a lower level than the current level. For example, if you are in second semester, uh, and the books that teacher has referred you for that particular subject, when you will start those books or when you will start consulting those books for the specific topics, in the beginning of the chapter or in the beginning of topics, you will find something related to the topic that you have already covered. So this link between familiarity and then something that is not much familiar, this creates basically a comfort zone somewhat, or kind of familiarity for the readers, and then they don't find that thing that much difficult. Because you see, whenever and particularly it is true for students, that whenever they think that an idea is entirely new, it is very hard for them to grasp it, because it is not familiar anymore. Similarly, you might have seen this, or you, if you notice now, you will realize that this idea of familiarity and importance is very commonly used when it comes to newspapers as well. They use these some particular few terms or some phrases that are much commonly familiar among people, and then with link to those particular news, those particular familiar words, they link new news. ठीक हो गया? So this is how they target their audience. For example, whatsoever is going on in the current situation, or for example nowadays, this very sensational, and when I say nowadays, it means 2020 and obviously 2021, and maybe it will stay relevant in 2022 as well, this particular term that is COVID or corona. So now if you see, all there are so many news even that are not directly linked with this particular COVID thing, but what happens particularly in newspapers is, or in these news statements that are appearing in TV, that they use this word COVID as the keyword, and almost most of the happenings, they are always being linked with this particular word. The reason being, this word has become familiar now. So this is how you target your audience, by baiting them with familiar ideas or familiar terms or familiar phrases. Same goes for this importance thing as well. That, but again, but this idea of familiarity and importance, this is something that depends upon the writers as well, that how they use this card. Because what some writers do is that they begin with some idea that is not much important, or something that is not much important, and they take it slowly towards and if there's some important information, and sometimes this is vice versa as well, that the important information or the important idea, it is highlighted, and then you have to go through the entire article. Definitely after reading the article, you actually know that what is the main thing in this particular topic. Then comes the comparison and contrast. When it comes to comparison and contrast, first of all, I want you people to keep this in mind, that when we say comparison and contrast, these are two different things. ठीक हो गया? Comparison is all about finding similarities, and contrast is all about looking at differences. So when we talk about comparison and contrast, definitely we are supposed to we're supposed to focus on these two things. We are not merely going to see similarities, or we are not merely going to see differences. We will be looking at both of these, and then it will. Who is it? And then it will become comparison and contrast. So now, do you people have some idea? And again, you're going to raise your hands. That what can be the possible benefits of comparison and contrast? Raise your hands. Yes, Ikra Abasi, roll number 22. Ikra, Ikra, is Ikra here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Ji, Ikra, what can be the possible benefits of or how do you think that comparison and contrast can be useful? क्या फायदा हो सकता है हमें comparison और contrast से?
I guess, ma'am, people who are reading that script or that text will definitely going to be more familiar with it. Like जब वो एक चीज का comparison भी और उसका फिर then contrast भी find out कर लेंगे, like we will do that in debate thing. So they will get more familiar with the pros and cons of that topic or that point of view.
ठीक हो गया. Okay. Yes, Mustafa.
Ma'am, consider that we have developed our system. Now, if we compare our system with a well-developed system that is already running, we can improve our system in a way by finding the better things of the system that was already developed.
ठीक है. Yes, very good. So basically, when we compare two things, we can compare and contrast two things. We can find out that if something is superior to another or if something is inferior than another. ठीक हो गया. Anything else? Any other ways or any other comparison and contrast that you might have drawn in your routine life? And how do you find it, or how do you find it ever useful? Because we're all the time we are drawing these comparisons, nahi? Starting from these items of our daily use to anything, I guess we are always running these comparisons among things or between things. ऐसा होता है नहीं होता?
होता है मैम.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what are the benefits? Chale, it's okay. Let's see it here. Just a second. Okay, so basically when we draw these comparison and contrast, just a second. Okay. Chale. So, well, you see, first of all, when we draw comparison and contrast, definitely, as I guess Mustafa has pointed it out correctly, that whenever we compare two items or more than two items, we actually find that if something is superior to another or if something is inferior to another, to basically to find out that which option is the better one, obviously. Then you might have seen this other benefit of comparing and contrasting. You might have seen that whenever we have a gadget or whenever we are availing some service or anything, and usually whenever we are offered or whenever we see a new availability of whenever we see availability of a new service maybe or a new product, or whenever some new thing comes in the market, what we usually do is that we compare it with the item or the service that we already have. Now, definitely, we don't know much about what this particular new thing is, but usually by drawing some comparisons or comparisons and contrasts, we get to know more about the new thing. So basically, this particular whole drill of comparing and contrasting, it helps us to find more about an unknown item by definitely comparing it with the known item. And this is something that, and this is a drill that we all perform, particularly whenever we are buying new gadgets, be a new mobile phone or be it a new TV or a smart TV or be it an Xbox. जो भी है, जब भी आप कुछ लेते हैं, definitely you always compare it with the something or something of the similar nature that already is existing, and we find out more about it. And then but now in these first two categories, if you can see my screen where we are comparing one item with another or others to know if which one is the superior or better as compared to the other ones, or where we are trying to find more about unknown items by comparing them with known items. These are the comparisons and contrasts that are basically being carried out between or among items or objects or people, maybe, let's suppose, ठीक हो गया. But this particular third type is that when we compare and contrast, we basically run these comparisons and contrasts for the same item or for the same service to see how something has changed. For example, if I have a particular gadget and I compare its working now as compared to its working how it's working were 2 years ago. ठीक है. So comparison and contrast can also basically facilitate us in finding that how something has transcended over time, how something or some situation or how some people. But in this particular situation, comparison and contrast is being carried out over the same item or same service or same individual, but definitely with these but there is this gap between time. For example, we are seeing something how it was 2 years ago, and that how that particular something is after 2 years. ठीक हो गया. So here we can't say, we don't need the comparison to be drawn out between or among things. Comparison is for the very same thing, but definitely over some specific period of time. Now, when next comes comparison and contrast, there are two ways to organize comparisons and contrast. One is point by point organization and other is block organization. Well, these two are really simple. When it comes to point by point organization, what we're going to do is that let's suppose if we have taken first point for drawing definitely. Okay, now another thing, whenever we are going to draw comparison and contrast, definitely there are going to be some elements upon which we are going to draw comparison and contrast. For example, if we have two individuals and the names are wholly fictitious, they don't have to do anything with the real individuals present in class, that let's suppose if there are two students in this class and one is Ali and one is Ahmed, and let's suppose if we say that we are supposed to draw comparison and contrast thingy between them. So what we are going to do is that first of all, let's suppose we say that height is going to be a factor upon which we are going to draw comparison and contrast. Then maybe we can say that IQ is going to be a factor upon which we are going to draw our comparison and contrast. And thirdly, maybe EQ, emotional quotient, is going to be our this particular determining factor for comparison and contrast. So in point by point, what we are going to do is that first of all we are going to talk about them. We are going to take first element, for example height, and then we are going to talk about, let's suppose, height of Ali and then height of Ahmed. Then we are going to talk about the IQ levels of Ali and then Ahmed, and then we are going to talk about the EQ of Ali and then Ahmed. ठीक हो गया. This is point by point organization, where we take one point and then we draw comparison and contrast about that, then next point, and so on and so forth. Another way is block organization. Well, when it comes to block organizations, as evident from the name, what we are going to do is that first we are going to present entire information about one item or one individual in one block, and then we are going in the next block we are going to provide information about the entire information about the other item or the other individual. For example, if we continue with the previous example, we can say that in the first block or in the first paragraph, maybe we are going to talk about, or rather we are going to describe height, IQ and EQ of Ali, and then in the next block or maybe in the next paragraph we are going to move on towards the next person or next item, though in this case it is person, that is Ahmed, or whatever name you want to carry on with. So these are two ways of drawing comparison and contrast. Then comes the next way of organizing text, and this particular is basically general and particular. Now, since you all must have written essays during your school and college days, so I assume that you must be well familiar with this way of text organization, that is general and particular. Well, what happens here is that usually what happens is that we begin with some kind of generalized statements, and then slowly we move them towards a specific statement. ठीक हो गया? For example, let's suppose if I ask you to write an essay or write a paragraph about education, or let's suppose if I ask you to write a paragraph about or not a paragraph is though yes there can be paragraphs as well. Let's suppose we will continue with the paragraph because essay it seems a bit more lengthier at this particular point of time. Let's suppose if I ask you to write a paragraph about special education. Okay. Now if you are going to start this particular paragraph, definitely most of the students what approach they will take is that they will start the paragraph with some kind of generalized statement about the benefit of education, or maybe some hadith or ayat about the importance of education, and then slowly they will funnel it down, और फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता उसको वो special education के साथ के ऊपर in 2 or 3 lines, definitely not depending upon the length. If it is a full-fledged essay, then maybe in 1 to 2 or 3 paragraphs they will bring it towards special education. ठीक हो गया? This is the idea, that is from general, how we take these generalized or these broad statements and how we slowly funnel them into specific statements. ठीक हो गया? However, sometimes this is vice versa as well, and what happens is, sorry, sometimes anyways. ओके तो उसमें मैं क्या करूँ? जी जैन, सॉरी आप क्या कह रहे हैं जैन? अच्छा आज चल शाबाश भाई जैन, what is this nonsense? पता नहीं आप क्या ये जब शिफ्ट होते हैं डाटा से पीटीसीएल पे तो भी आपका माइक अनम्यूट हो जाता है। आप लोगों का माइक जो है मतलब वो बहाना ही ढूंढ रहा होता है मेरा ख्याल है अनम्यूट होने का। जहां भी इसको मौका मिलता है ये खुद ही से अनम्यूट हो जाता है ना? अरफा मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
यस मैम।
आपका नहीं माइक अनम्यूट हुआ खुद ही से?
नो मैम।
गुड टू नो, किसी का तो माइक नहीं अनम्यूट हुआ खुद ही से। Okay, so just a second. Okay, so moving back, then we have, and sometimes we are given some specific statement, some particular statement, and then we are supposed to basically slowly we are supposed to expand that statement, and we are supposed to link it with the general string. ठीक हो गया? Like let's suppose if you are given some specific situation, for example, you might all have seen that particular situation going on in that in University of Lahore, जो भी who had different people have different opinions about it. ठीक है? But let's suppose if you are given such kind of statement to written that such incidents occurring in educational institutions, what do you think about that, or something like this? ठीक हो गया? Then definitely that is a very very particular statement. But let's suppose definitely if you are supposed to write about it, you will start with a particular statement and then slowly you can link it with ethic values and maybe at the decorum of educational institutions, and then how generically basically rules and ethics works in educational institutions. So it is always it is basically a two-way road. If you start with a generic idea, you are supposed to take it to some specific point, and even if you start with some particular specific point, you are supposed to link it with the general or the generic string. This is how general to specific and specific to general works. Then the next way to organize text is very simple, and this is the very common way of organizing content, particularly when it comes to report writing and proposal writing. Well, there is always this link between problem and solution. Definitely, initially a problem is stated, and when a problem is stated, definitely, then there are multiple solutions that are offered for that particular problem. Same happens whenever we are writing proposals or whenever we are drafting reports. Most of them they are written because we want to address some problem or some situation. Take okay. This is a very common one, and I guess we will use it as well when we will be writing our reports. Now, whenever we state a problem, then there are different solutions, and now this depends upon the format where you are working. Sometimes what happens is that all the discussion is done in advance, and there is a problem that is mentioned, and then the solution that is mentioned that is recommended, okay, with consensus. Merely that solution is mentioned. While what happens sometime is that a problem is mentioned, and then the solutions, maybe two or three, that can address the problem, they are mentioned. So this depends upon the situation as well, but problem and solution is a very uh, common way, rather a very commonly used way, particularly in official documentation. Then comes the cause and effect thing. Again, a cause and effect thing is basically well, cause and effect is a bit linked with problem and solution, and it is a bit different than problem and solution as well. Because you see, whenever uh, cause and effect comes, always remember that cause and effect, this works in this cyclic chain. ठीक हो गया? There is always a cause, and it will generate effects, and those effects they will serve as a cause, and definitely they will generate more effects as well. For example, let's suppose if we say that there is a particular student who, let's suppose, there is a student who is not performing well. Now this poor performance of him is an effect for now. And what can be the cause for that particular poor performance? Well, there can be multiple causes. For example, if he was not merely paying attention, if he had some family issues, or if he was in bad company, or if he got into drugs, or matlab, whatsoever, there can be multiple reasons, or there can be some reasons. Okay? But now this poor performance of a student right now, this is the effect, and whatsoever happened previously, that is here now cause. But this particular poor performance of the student in the present, what it is going to do, it is going to become a cause itself. And definitely this it is going to generate more effects, maybe the student failing, maybe the student dropping out, maybe the student getting poor GPA, maybe not not being able to get the final degree. Okay? So now what happened is that the something that was previously an effect, it will serve as a cause, and it will generate more effects. ठीक हो गया? So basically this is how cause and effect thing works. It is always going to work in this chain cycle. ठीक हो गया? And this is something that you are to, so let's suppose if you are writing a report about some issues that have occurred in, uh, let's suppose a project that you have done. Okay? So now definitely you are supposed to explain those particular issues through this cause and effect chain cycle, that what happened these particular issues that are there in this particular project, what are the causes for these particular issues. Maybe let's suppose the material that was used, that was not good, maybe the planning was not foolproof, maybe management was poor at that particular time. So this is why we are seeing these particular effects now. And definitely whatsoever is an effect now, in coming time, maybe 2 years, 4 years, 2 months, depending on obviously the effects, these effects will serve as causes, and they will generate new effects of their own. So this is how cause and effect thing works. Okay, after this, the last one is this spatial organization. Well, spatial organization is basically when information is organized in order of space. Acha, one thing, if or when I ask you what is spatial organization, or you are not supposed to tell me that uh, the way in which things are organized in the outer space. ठीक है? ये कोई हम दुनिया से बाहर वाले स्पेस की बात नहीं कर रहे. we are talking about this very space in which we are sitting right now. ठीक हो गया? So whenever we talk about, we describe surroundings, or whenever we describe locations, or whenever we describe how, basically things are placed, that is spatial organization. For example, if right now I ask you to, okay, that if you can spatially if you can rather describe through spatial organization the settings of room that you are sitting in right now. Okay, and the way in which you will describe the settings of that room from top to bottom, or from left to right, or right to left, or from bottom to top, that is basically the spatial organization. Okay, or similarly, let's suppose if you are going somewhere and you ask about instructions from someone. Okay, and they tell you maybe that you go straight, and then maybe take a take a left turn, and then maybe a right, and then again two lefts, and then you will reach at your destination. So that is basically spatial organization, that how you basically according to your coordinates, or according to your surroundings, how you describe them. ठीक हो गया? इसको outer space के साथ नहीं लेके जाना कि how things are there in the outer space, that is spatial organization, that is not that space. ठीक हो गया? Are we clear till here? uh, what I'm going to do is that I am going to upload two files. Rather, these are two worksheets, and what I want you people to do is that what you are rather going to do is that you are going to read those two sheets. Just a second, let me find those sheets. And you are going to read those two sheets, and you are going to arrange. In fact, let me first share, and then we can move further. Just a second. वैसे मेरी आवाज आ रही है? Why you people are so silent today? Is everything okay?
Yes, yes मैम आ रही है.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
चलें, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
क्या? अच्छा, I am going to जी मैं book pick कर देती हूँ. अच्छा, I am going to share these two worksheets in your class material. ठीक है?
Okay मैम.
First you open these sheets, and then I will tell what next to do. Okay, these two have been uploaded in your files के अंदर जाएंगे. So there is a folder of class material, then there is a folder of recordings, and then there are these two text files, sorry, other PDF files that I have uploaded. ठीक है? Now what I want you people, अच्छा, let me share my screen again as well. Shift कर लूँ. Sorry. Can you people see my screen?
No मैम, सिर्फ एक ब्लैक सा पेज आ रहा है और कुछ नजर नहीं आ रहा.
Blank.
Okay, just
Black.
a second.
नो मैम नहीं आ रही.
Just a second.
अब आ रही है.
हो गई है शो.
Okay, class. What I want you people to do is that there are these two pages. First of all, open this identifying text structure one. ठीक है? इसमें if you see here, you have these the on the first worksheet you have these six different ways in which the text is organized. What you are supposed to do now is that read these six passages. ठीक है? You are after reading the passage, you are supposed to determine that in which way each passage has been organized, and after determining I want you to keep some pen or pencil with you. और ये जो चीज़ है, ये जो बने हुए हैं डिफरेंट टेम्पलेट्स, इनको थोड़ा सा रफ स्केचिंग करके आप you will tell that, for example, let's suppose if we say, and this is just a supposition, don't listen to what I'm saying. Let's suppose if we say that passage number one, it is here, it is organized in comparison and contrast way. So here if you can see my cursor, you are supposed to write passage number. Let's suppose it is 2. Then what is being compared and contrast, name the item here, and then 3 similarities that have been described in the passage and 3 differences. ठीक हो गया? So let's suppose if you see again my cursor, it is here in which passage is sequence. You are supposed to write passage name, let's suppose passage 2, and then you are supposed to describe sequence 1 2 3 4. अब definitely you can't draw same at home. इस तरह से अगर आप क्लास में होते फिजिकल में तो I would have given you these worksheets, लेकिन अभी के लिए मतलब draw roughly. समझ रहे हैं आप बात मेरी?
मैम
You
ये नहीं
should.
समझ रही
यस
दोबारा
मैम।
बोलिए।
यार इसमें ना समझने वाली कौन सी बात है? There are मतलब seriously, what is it that you are not getting? There are these 6 passages. I want you to read these passages. After reading these passages, let's suppose there is this passage 1. ठीक हो गया? Now I want, once you read this passage, after this you are supposed to determine yourself that in which way the information in this passage has been organized. If it is cause and effect way, if it is problem and solution, if it is chronological, if it is sequence wise, if there is some kind of comparison or contrast, or if it is if the information in the passage has been organized in chronological order. ठीक है? Once you determine that particular type, अगर passage number के हिसाब से हम, let's suppose if you say that passage 1 has been organized through, or the content of the passage 1 has been organized in comparison and contrast way. ठीक है? Then you are simply supposed to say पैसेज 2. अब ये आप रजिस्टर पे लिखेंगे क्योंकि आपके पास शीट नहीं है. ठीक है? पैसेज 2, उसके आगे आप लिख दें simply comparison and contrast, and then you are supposed to find 3 things where similarity is shown and 3 ways in which the items that are being discussed, they are shown to be different from each other. And same kind of drill, you are supposed to read the passage and you are supposed to determine in which way the content has been organized. Is it chronological or compare? और हाँ, एक चीज़ हमने जो पढ़ी है ways to organize text, they are I guess 8 or 9, but here in this particular situation या वर्कशीट 1 के अंदर 6 ways हैं. ठीक है? chronological है, cause and effect है, comparison and contrast है, problem and solution है, chronological है, sequence है. ठीक हो गया? So these are the 6 that you are supposed, इन्हीं 6 these are the 6 ways that have been followed in organizing information that is present on page number 2 in worksheet 1. ठीक हो गया? This is what you are supposed to do now. अभी भी किसी को समझ नहीं आई तो वो बताए जरा.
मैम बेहतरीन होगी आगे।
पता नहीं उससे पहले क्यों नहीं आई थी, मैं ये नहीं समझी, लेकिन बहरहाल चलें. Then you have around 10 minutes I guess, or 5 minutes depending upon whenever you get free. Tell me, I'm here. Rizwan, turn off your camera. Rizwan Ahmed. Are you people done with activity 1?
नो मैम बस 5 मिनट
अब 10 मिनट तो पहले हो गया अभी वजीर 5 मिनट चलें हरी आप Are you people done now? Class, are you people done with activity 1? Shiraz, Rizwan, Mustafa. Are you people done with activity 1? ओके क्लास, आई गेस दिस इज इट सफिशिएंट टाइम। आप 15 से 20 मिनट ले चुके हैं इस एक्टिविटी जो 10 मिनट में हो जानी चाहिए। कम ऑन। ओके जी मानूर, in which way particular the first passage has been organized? मानूर 167। 20 मिनट हो गए इस एक्टिविटी पे जो 5 से 7 मिनट में हो जाती है। कम ऑन जी मानूर। मानूर इज आई गेस एब्सेंट। ओके उसामा, रोल नंबर 19।
Yes, ma'am.
जी उसामा, what about first passage? Have you identified the text structure of first passage?
Ma'am, compare and contrast में होता है ये.
Compare and contrast में ठीक है। Okay, what are the three similarities, and in which three ways it is similar, and in which three ways the data that is provided is different?
मैम एक तो ये फिजिकल चेंजेस जो होती है ना, ये आइडेंटिटी को चेंज नहीं कर सकती, ये जस्ट शेप को चेंज करती हैं, और केमिकल चेंजेस जो होती हैं वो शेप को भी चेंज कर देती हैं और आइडेंटिटी को भी चेंज।
You are telling me about similarities or you are telling me about differences?
डिफरेंसेस मैम।
अच्छा जी, पहले similarities बताएं 3, फिर 3 differences बताएं।
मैम सिमिलैरिटीज की समझ नहीं आ रही, बस डिफरेंसेस की समझ आ रही है।
अच्छा जी, और
नेक्स्ट इसकी एग्जांपल्स जैसे देख लिए हैं, शेप ऑफ क्ले की और दूसरी पेपर की एग्जांपल।
ठीक है, ओके ठीक है, थैंक यू सामा। ओके ठीक है, थैंक यू सामा। जी अम्मार अहमद, रोल नंबर 136।
Yes, ma'am.
जी अम्मार, व्हाट अबाउट पैसेज 2?
Ma'am, passage to chronological order, ma'am.
किस तरह से? जस्टिफाई योर आंसर।
सबसे पहला इवेंट आएगा कि वो जो हमारा इनिशियल होगा ना, वो आएगा कि सबसे पहले गॉट होम फ्रॉम स्कूल आफ्टर लॉन्ग बोरिंग डे। जिसके बाद जो फर्स्ट इवेंट आया होगा हमारा, वो होगा टुक आउट पीनट बटर जेली एंड ब्रेड। Then second event will be taking lid of the jar and spreading the.
ठीक है, okay. So basically he has told what he did first and then what he did later. ठीक हो गया।
Yes.
Okay. उसके बाद लाइबा, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, लाइबा, what about passage 3?
Ma'am, जो passage 3 है, that's the chronological order. इसमें इसमें because at first he taught himself how to play chess on his own at an early childhood, and then in his teen years he became the youngest junior champion ever, and then at the last stage he became his own enemy and he forfeited the challenger without even making a move.
ठीक हो गया। Secondly, I guess the biggest clue is that different his age, these dates of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
years that have been mentioned. So, okay, ठीक है, good लाइबा,
Yes, ma'am.
शाबाश, thank you. Okay, then we have Akdas Ali, roll number 147.
Yes, ma'am.
जी Akdas, what do you think about passage 4?
Passage 4, ma'am. Causes and effects.
Causes and effects है ये, किस तरह से?
मैम क्योंकि मैम बस यही पता कॉजेज एंड इफेक्ट है।
क्योंकि किसी ने बताया?
नो मैम, वैसे
अच्छा।
पढ़ा था पैसेज, लिख ली था बुक पे।
ठीक है, ओके। यस मुस्तफा।
पैसेज हो रहा है ये प्रॉब्लम एंड सोल्यूशन, इसमें बताया हुआ कि जो हमारे टाइगर्स हैं वो काफी एक्सटेंट हो रहे हैं और उनको सेव करने के लिए हमें उनकी ब्रीडिंग करानी है और उनको रिजर्व करना है।
हाँ जी, उसके लिए एंड वी नीड donations and so on. ठीक है, yes. Basically, passage 4 is about problems and solutions. Then passage 5. Let me see. G. Fatima, roll number 79. Fatima,
Yes, ma'am.
G. Tell me about passage 5. In which way has been used to organize content in passage 5?
In passage 5 we had cause and effect है, और जो इफेक्ट है वो हमारा इकोनॉमिकल क्राइसिस है, और इसके जो कॉजेज हैं वो मतलब लो इनकम पीपल्स को लोन दिए जा रहे हैं, और सेकेंड है कि बैंक्स वुड बंडल दीज टॉक्सिक लोन्स। थर्ड है कि इंश्योरेंस फर्म को बैकअप किया जाता है उन पैसेज को, वो हाई रिस्क लोन को सेव इन्वेस्टमेंट क्रिएट करे।
ठीक है,
और
ओके, ठीक
फोर्थ
है,
है कि
ओके फातिमा, ठीक है, गुड, शाबाश। सही आइडेंटिफाई किया आपने, गुड, वेरी गुड। Okay, and then the last for activity 1, we have Faratullah Khan. जी Farat 128. जी फरत क्लास ज्वाइन करके नाश्ता तो नहीं करने गया हुआ? अच्छा, we have a doll in our class. जी बुशरा, roll number 2. रोल नंबर 2 भी नहीं है। बुशरा, दानिश, दानिश जाहिद, रोल नंबर 177.
Yes, ma'am.
जी दानिश, tell me about this passage number 6. Which way has been organized? Sorry, which way
Ma'am,
has been used to organize the content?
it is about the sequence. Passage name
Yes,
is
yes, ठीक है, yes, this way to organize text content sequence we haven't discussed previously, but yes, when we follow a particular sequence, that is supposed to be the sequential order. ठीक हो गया, ठीक है।
Yes, ma'am.
Or I guess this is very clear. It is clear almost to everyone, since the narrator has been following or is describing how he followed a particular sequence. So it is supposed to be the sequential order, step by step.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, shabash. Okay, now what I want you people to do is that kindly open this identifying text structure activity 2. और अच्छा, आज के दिन में I will let you know of time, or you can decide time with me, and you will have a short quiz on how to organize text structures. ठीक है? I will upload a sheet like this, and there will be those forms, and you will have to identify the structure, and then you will write down the name. ठीक हो गया?
मैम आज डिबेट नहीं होनी?
डिबेट आज होगी लाइबा या कल होगी? अच्छा हाँ, मुझे एक बात बताएं कि आप लोगों के जो मैंने काफ़ी ग्रुप्स के तो आपके टॉपिक्स अप्रूव हो गए हैं, ठीक है, लेकिन दोज ग्रुप्स हु डिडंट बॉदर टू गिव एनी प्रोवाइड एनी इनपुट ऑन माय कमेंट्स और ऑन व्हाट आई आस्क्ड देम टू डू, उनका क्या करें फिर? अब उनके फिर मैं -2 कर दूं सबके बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट ही? Because if you haven't got your topic approved from me, and when you will appear for debate, तो मेरा ख्याल है उसको यकीनी समझे आप कि मैं नंबर तो काटूंगी फिर आपके उस चीज़ के। तो वैसे by the way, why the groups didn't bother to provide any input as for their topics are concerned? They are least bothered about their debates. Is this the reason? शहरियार, कितने ग्रुप्स ने नहीं आपको रिस्पॉन्ड किया था? जो आपने मुझे ईमेल किए थे वही वाले, या उसके अलावा और भी हैं? मेरे ख्याल से मेजॉरिटी ग्रुप्स के तो टॉपिक्स अप्रूव हो गए हैं।
यस मैम, मैंने जो आपको मेल की थी बस वही ग्रुप्स हैं।
वही ग्रुप है, हाँ, मेजॉरिटी के तो अप्रूव हो गए हैं। चलें, बहरहाल जिनको नहीं हुए वो काइंडली मेक श्योर दैट यू विल डू इट आज या कल में। उसके बाद फिर ये कि उसके बाद आई वोंट बी चेकिंग योर टॉपिक्स, और फिर आप जब डिबेट, अगर when you will appear for debate, so I can deduct, or rather I will deduct your marks for this negligence of yours. चलें, okay, अच्छा, एज फॉर डिबेट इज कंसर्न, इज ग्रुप वन रेडी? क्योंकि जहाँ तक मुझे याद पड़ता है आप लोगों को मैंने नहीं कहा था टू स्टे रेडी, सॉफ्टवेयर वालों को तो मैंने कहा हुआ है। इज ग्रुप वन रेडी हियर फॉर डिबेट्स, और एनी ग्रुप वुड लाइक टू volunteer for a debate tomorrow if they are ready? नहीं तो we will start from next week, कोई मसला नहीं है। मेरा ख्याल है इस खामोशी का यही मतलब है कि नो वन इज रेडी। चलें, लेट्स सी, टुमारो वी विल हैव अ क्लास, दो थर्सडे को एक आध घंटे की कलम क्लास लेंगे टू हैव अ रीडिंग सेशन टुगेदर इंशाल्लाह। और उसके बाद फिर हम लेट्स सी व्हाट वी विल डू नेक्स्ट। ठीक है, फ्रॉम नेक्स्ट वीक ऑनवर्ड मेरा ख्याल है डिबेट्स हम शुरू कर देंगे अपनी। चलें, ओके, नाउ काइंडली ओपन दिस एक्टिविटी 2, और इसके बाद अभी हमने लिसनिंग भी करनी है। हरी अप, नाउ यू हैव ओनली 5 minutes। merely read these passages and merely identify the structure। ठीक है, कि that which passage has been organized in which particular way। hurry up। Yes, Hassan Akhtar, what is it? 29।
पूछा था क्लास खत्म तो नहीं होगी?
जनाब क्लास ख़त्म नहीं हुई है, अगर आपने बीच में ज्वाइन कर ही लिया है तो एक्टिविटी 2 जो स्क्रीन पे शेयर हुई नज़र भी आ रही है, ये क्लास मटेरियल में अपलोडेड है फाइल्स में। इसको खोलो और सॉल्व करो। आइडेंटिफाई दैट विच पैसेज हैज़ बीन ऑर्गेनाइज्ड इन विच वे। Are you people done?
More.
Anji, are you people done now, class? I guess you should have
Yes,
been
ma'am.
done by now. Okay, चलें.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
ठीक है. अच्छा, Abdul Hasib, it is roll number 42. Ji Hasib, what do you think about the first passage? We are talking about working sheet 2. ये भी got absent as well mentally. Yes, Yusuf. Yusuf,
Ma'am, this will be chronological.
this will be chronological. Why? Can you give one or two points to prove
Ma'am,
your answer?
yes, ma'am. In this, they have given three eras: the
Mm-hmm.
Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous period. So,
ठीक
ma'am, they
हो
have given the timeline to from 250 million years ago to 65 million years ago. They have
ओके
divided it into three eras.
ठीक है
The
ओके
first era,
ठीक है यूसुफ गुड शाबाश ठीक है थैंक यू ओके then we have who else is there you can raise hands if you want to answer or I will keep picking randomly we have Amanat Ali 154 Amanat are you here Amanat you are not supposed to turn your camera on you are supposed to turn your microphone on और इतने अंधेरे में बैठ के क्लास ले रहे हो क्या नजर आ रहा होगा turn off your video Amanat जी and turn your mic on Amanat is in no mood to answer अच्छा जी अमानत बोलें मेरा ख्याल है ये आवाज नहीं आ रही जी। बिलाल बिलाल अहमद रोल नंबर 179 बिलाल Bilal is also absent. Okay. Yes, Hassan. Hassan Akhtar. Roll number 29. Sorry, class is for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. G. Hassan, what about
Yes,
passage
ma'am.
2?
Ma'am, passage 2 is about compare and contrast. In this passage, it has been compared between two dangerous predators.
Mm-hmm.
One is Tyrannosaurus and the other is
ठीक है. Okay, okay. सही हो गया. ठीक.
Velociraptor.
Okay, Laiba, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
G. Laiba, what do you think about passage 3?
Ma'am, it's sequence.
It is sequence. ठीक हो गया. Can you give one or two points that how it is sequential? Just for the clarity of your class
Yeah.
fellows.
Yes, ma'am, because उन्होंने बोला उन्होंने सारी डायरेक्शंस दी हुई है ना कि
Mm-hmm.
how to कि कहते हैं how to easily make one of मतलब you easily मतलब उन्होंने डायरेक्शंस दी हुई हैं कि you bend the pipe and then क्या कहते
What
हैं
you do
उन्होंने model
primarily
structure
and next
बनाने
है.
की.
ठीक है
Yes,
good.
exactly.
ठीक है good Laiba, शाबाश. Thank you. Okay. Then Fahad Ali. Fahad.
Yes, ma'am.
Ji Fahad, what do you think about passage 4?
Ma'am, cause and
Which
effect.
way has how?
How dinosaurs vanished from the earth.
किस तरह से how from the passage you deduced that this is cause and effect?
मैम मीटेरॉइड्स जब अर्थ से टकराए थे तो डायनासोर वनिश हो गए थे और अर्थ पे क्लाउड आ गए टेम्परेचर जिसकी वजह से बहुत गिर गया तो डायनासोर वनिश हो गए थे.
ठीक है. Okay, सुका. ठीक है good, शाबाश. Then after this Usman. There was a Muhammad Usman in this class as far I remember. Am I right? चलिए let's ask her CR. जी Shariar. शरियार. हमका तो सीआर भी नहीं जवाब देता.
मैम मैं डॉक्टर पास आया हूँ मेडिसिन लेने.
Okay, Shariar, carry on. Usman, is Usman here? नहीं इतनी मेरी सोई हुई क्लास क्यों है? शुरू में तो नहीं थी. ज़्यादा ही सो गई है टाइम के साथ.
Ma'am, there are two Usmans in the session.
There is this Usman and there. अच्छा चलें. Okay, Muhammad Usman Subhani, you can answer. Tell me about passage number 5. जड़ा बोले वही
Ma'am,
कुछ
the
भी
passage
बोले.
number 5 is problem and solution. Problem and the
हाँ.
solutions.
Okay, how from the
Ma'am,
passage you
ma'am, it is described that what are the problems when we study about the fossils, and at the end there's a solution given for it.
ठीक हो गया. Okay, good. शाबाश. And then the last passage, passage 6. Mudassir Munir, can you tell? Yes, Mudassir. Yes, Mudassir. In which
जी
way
मैम.
passage 6 been organized?
मैम थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम, आवाज सही नहीं आ रही.
भाई तुम पढ़ तो सही रहे हो ना. I am asking that in which way passage 6 has been organized.
मैम डायनासोर के बारे में है.
हेलो मुदस्सिर.
जी मैम.
मैंने ये नहीं पूछा किस बारे में. I am asking that the information has been organized according in which method has been used to organize information in passage 6. अब पता ही है हमें कि डायनासोर होगा और उसी के बारे में पैसेज है. कम ऑन.
सीक्वेंस मैम.
सीक्वेंस में है
जी.
ठीक हो गया. ओके एनीवन एल्स? यूसुफ?
मैम ये क्रोनोलॉजिकल होगा.
Yes, better option is that it is going to be in chronological order. ठीक हो गया, because he is not following any particular sequence for doing something. They are showing that how the chain of events for a particular day of Dino's life. So it is going to be chronological order. ठीक है, good, शाबाश. Okay, now we will have a short quiz, I guess by today or tomorrow. तो उसमें लेकिन ये डेफिनेटली आई विल आस्क. आप लोग वैसे आज कब तक फारिग हैं? 3 बजे आज कर लें. It will hardly be for 10 minutes. It will hardly be a 10-minute quiz.
मैम कल ही कर लें.
मैम कल की क्लास से पहले या बाद में कर लो.
मैम
कल
कल
का मुझे
चाहिए, आज बिजी हैं हम.
उसमें ऐसा है कि you people give me a time and I will make a quiz and I will schedule it. ठीक है, तो आप एक टाइम मुझे बता दें आज या कल में, जिस टाइम पे आप लोग अवेलेबल होंगे. मतलब अगर आप अवेलेबल हो उस टाइम पे, क्योंकि क्विज जो है वो ऑटो में मतलब मैं कर दूंगी उसको स्केड्यूल ऑटोमेटिकली. तो वो उस टाइम पे जो है वो आपको हो जाएगा साइन और फिर वो बंद हो जाएगा 10 मिनट बाद पोर्टल. तो
मैम वो सीआर से आप मतलब क्लास कंफर्म कर लें तो उससे 10-15 मिनट पहले क्विज रख दें.
चलें. यस शहरियार, व्हाट टाइम?
मैम वो दवाई लेने गया.
Just a second, I'm having this call from. You think of time and just.
यार भाई टाइम बताओ.
आज 3 बजे ले लो यार. ठीक है 3 बजे आज.